cited and highlighted our case study for this conversation this morning, which is the recently apparently settled Magodo land disputes. We have a land surveyor this morning in the studio with us in the name and person of Akinbonwale Adeleke. He's a land survey technologist with over 5 years work experience in Lagos. He's a graduate of the Federal School of Surveying in Oyo State, with a postgraduate diploma in surveying and geoinformatics in view at Federal University of Technology, Akure. He currently works as a staff of the Lagos State Office as the Surveyor General whilst managing his own company, Cornerstone Geomatics Consults. Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Good morning.
Very lovely to have you in the studio.
My
today.
pleasure.
I'm not going to let them know our history.
Okay.
But it's so lovely seeing you after a long time.
My pleasure, man. Good to see you too.
All right. So we are looking into the conversation of land disputes this morning. Now, before newspaper review, we cited the case study of the Magodo land disputes, with the Shangisha community, right?
Yeah.
So so during the military regime, the then military governor of Lagos State, took some land from the then chairman of the Shangisha community with a promise to actually, give some of those lands back, right?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's been a whole history, and the Magodo land was a part of it. But then, it was actually in 2016, 2017, it was settled in courts that land will no longer be a part of the land to be given as part of the 549 plots of land owed to the Shangisha community by the Lagos State government. And then it got a bit messy, with, earlier on the show this morning, I was saying that this particular chairman, got the coalition of the police armed forces and hoodlums to go and, claim rights over this particular land in Magodo.
Yeah.
Very fascinating story. Very fascinating story. So we're going to be getting into the conversation, the narrative of what is actually going on in that particular story, which is land disputes.
Yeah.
Now let us start from a basic definition. What is land acquisition, and what is the process of land acquisition in Nigeria?
Well, land acquisition is the process of acquiring land.
Okay.
And you can't talk about land acquisition without talking about the various land tenure systems that we have, And you can't talk about land acquisition without talking about the Land Use Act of 1978. So let me talk about the various land tenure systems that we have. We have the communal land tenure system, and we have whereby the family head or a community head has the power to, share land between the inhabitants or the family members, and and it's mainly for agricultural purposes. This kind of land, you can't use them as collateral. Understand? So we also have the freehold, which is the popular one that we all know, which is the purchase of ownership right over a particular piece of land, either from a family or government. You get this kind of land can be used as collateral and all that. Yeah, and we also have gift, land tenure system, where a owner gives away the right of ownership to another person, and this can be revoked through a court order and all that. Then we have leasehold land tenure system.
Okay.
Leasehold land tenure system is the process where you pay a certain amount of money, to use a land for a particular period of time, say 5 to 10 years or longer, but it's always longer for a period of time. You can't use this kind of land for a collateral. You get it. Similar to it, we have rent tenure system, land tenure system. This is similar to leasehold, but it's only for a shorter period. You also can use it for collateral. So we also have inheritance. This is where you inherit a piece of land or you inherit ownership right at the death of the owner through will. You understand? You can use this as collateral. And we also have tenant at government will. You understand? This is mainly for agricultural purposes. You understand? You have to pay, and then it can be cancelled anytime.
Right.
So that is that about land tenure system. Then moving on to Land Use Act, I think this, while we just need to understand that all those land tenure system, we need to understand that they exist before the Land Use Act came over, and and given the Land Use Act, made some provisions. It returned the land back to the government. Urban lands had been administered by the governor,
right,
where rural lands have been administered by, through the local government. With the help of land allocating committee and all that.
Right.
So they were the one that allocate land for individuals and corporate bodies, and court of law, helps to solve land disputes where, governors, CFO will be issued by the governor. So that is that about land acquisition in Nigeria.
So how do you, as a surveyor, like what is your role in this process?
Well, the role of a surveyor in this process is, preparing a land survey document. Determining the extent, the boundaries of a property. You understand? Right. Producing the survey plan. Then we also help to, check. We help in the land registration process.
Right.
Also, and we can actually check the viability of a land document.
Okay, all right. So you work a lot with some of these sensitive documents that are required for a land transaction to be possible, right?
Yeah.
So in your experience, what are some of the challenges, that a person trying to acquire land will face or can face in Nigeria?
Well, quite a lot. I would like to, the first thing is that let me use Lagos State as a case study.
Yes, please.
The first problem you're going to have is Omonile issue, local inhabitant.
Okay.
They are the original, inhabitants of these lands, So,
like the Omoiko. Am I getting it right?
Yes,
like
yes. Indigenous,
Lagos people.
Yeah. So Omoniles, you have to have a tussle with them, and over the past 6 years that I've been in Lagos, I promise you, it's not always pleasant dealing with Omoniles because obviously they are unreasonable and all that, they are violent. They can be violent, So, if you get to buy from them, from this Omonile, if you get to buy from them, you stand the risk of them selling to another person. And then you have to pay, even if you buy from the government, if you're not buying from them, if you buy from the government, anytime they visit, anytime you come to develop your land, I think at different stages, you have to pay them. Probably if you want to do foundation, you pay.
Wow.
If you want to start building, you pay a certain amount of money. If you want to, I think, roof, you still have to pay them. You understand? So they just, they never go away and all that. So that's that about Omonile, And, they can be fraudulent sometimes. I said it earlier that, they can sell to one or two parties and all that, So you have to be very, very careful dealing with them. So another problem is, corruption. Because if you want to acquire a land that a government official or someone in power is interested in, it might be very difficult, to acquire such a land. Do you understand me? Like, if you want to acquire a land that someone in power is interested in, you might face a lot of challenge. You get. So another thing is the cost of registration. Then
the cost of registration.
Yes.
Okay.
The cost of registration. Land survey it's quite expensive. Levies, land use, taxes, and all that in order to get your C of O. And then the ease of registration again is, I think in Lagos, it takes up to like 6 months
Wow.
to get your CFO. I mean, during this process, you might probably get tired and all that, and activities of fraudulent real estate companies. That's another problem, whereby a real estate company is selling a land that is not genuine, you understand, and, you don't want to fall into these problems.
Yeah.
So,
Now, I'm hearing a lot of fraudulent activities.
Yeah.
I've heard, when it comes to the challenges of land sales, and this is something that is not news when it comes to land sales, land acquisition in Nigeria today. Where a famous one would be, you see on a building this don't beware of 419. This
Okay.
building is not for
For
sale.
sale.
You see that a lot in Lagos. I remember a friend of mine who came to the country was asking me that, why are people writing on their houses the fear of 419? This house is not for sale. Like, obviously it's not for sale.
Yeah.
And I have to tell her that, listen, Lagos can be very interested, because of matters and issues like this. So how can a person actually secure themselves? How can a person stay safe and security conscious, when they are in the middle of a land sale? So what should you do as a person who has a piece of land? What should you have? And what is the best way, in your experience, to actually stay safe? Tackling against the likes of Omonile, etc.
Well, there are different approaches.
Okay.
You understand? The first will be, if you want to acquire land, engage a professional. You understand? Engage a competent surveyor. I use the word competent because in every field there are bad eggs. You understand? So you need to engage a professional. Not just someone it's not everybody that calls himself a surveyor that is actually a surveyor. We have quacks out there and all that. So you get a surveyor, a competent one, a professional. You get, they know what to look out for, in the process of acquiring land.
Right.
And they can help you. I mean, that's the first thing. That's the first thing. Getting a surveyor. The surveyor is conversant. Is his field, so he knows what to do. You get, so they will check the land.
Right.
I always advise, you get documents from the person you are buying from. If it's a third party transaction, you understand, probably you're selling to me, I'll have to ask you, what documents do you have on your land? So you present them, the documents, probably the deed of assignment, the receipts and all that. Then you give them to your surveyor to check for you. Then after checking, the surveyor has to come to site, to pick coordinate and chart it. That is taking Lagos State as a case study, in Lagos, so that you don't buy a government acquisition. You understand? That is a very big deal. You understand? You don't want to buy a government acquisition land.
So just to clarify what you mean by government acquisition, land belonging to the government. You don't want to buy land.
You don't want to.
The government.
Yes. And also, for instance, there are some land. Yeah, we can still call it government acquisitions. Such as government scheme and all that, or land that has been marked for projects, public projects and all that. You get, so a surveyor has to come to site to pick coordinates and chart it for you at the office of the surveyor general. I said the word, I used the word competent the other time. There was a time where a client actually engaged me. She unfortunately engaged a so-called surveyor, but apparently this person didn't do his assignment very well, So this person has already paid for the land, and then thank God that she actually instead of using the so-called surveyor to further stuff like the land survey,
Right.
she decided to, just engage another person, and then she engaged me, and I discovered that this land that this other person said is actually free from government acquisition was actually in government acquisition.
Wow.
And she has already paid, and
Wow.
she bought from Omonile actually.
Wow.
So it's crazy. So she ran into debt and all that. So
And there's like almost no way of getting that money back.
Omonile, they don't do refund.
How about courts? How about, the place of, jurisdiction, of taking them to courts? Wouldn't that is
You didn't. Obviously, you're at fault, because the first thing you are supposed to do, you failed at it. Engaging a competent surveyor. You understand? You are supposed to check this land that you wanted to buy, whether it's free from government acquisition first. I mean, you didn't check. That's on you.
Yeah, but hold on.
That's on you.
Hold on. Okay, hold on. So this particular Omolile has, I want to buy land, and this particular quote-unquote Omolile has offered this land to me, right? And okay, as you've said, I didn't, or probably I wasn't sensitive enough. I was to use the right language to check whether this particular land was in government acquisition or not. But isn't that on the part of the person that is selling the land to me? Shouldn't the person tell me? Shouldn't the person let me know that this particular land is for the government, or that kind of thing? Like,
don't forget, when we were talking about the challenges you face while acquiring land in Lagos, I mentioned fraudulent activities.
Yes.
So it's
okay. Now I want to get into the space of legality of the law. How does the Constitution, protect against things like this? And how can the Constitution help to, correct a situation where a fraudulent activity or a fraudulent land sale has happened?
It has already happened. You understand? And, the Land Use Act of 1978, I said it earlier, that it said all land belong to the government. Rural land belongs to the, is there for the local government to administer, where urban land is there for the state government, to administer. So if you want to, to do this, they expect you to come to work into the government office and you buy from the government. That is what so they are saying.
Yes.
That is the implication of the Land Use Act. Do you understand? So that is what they expect from you.
So now that implication means that, there's always something I wanted to clarify. Given that particular Land Use Act, to me that tells me that no land really, that all the land belongs to the government. That no land really belongs to private individuals. Is that correct?
Unless they've acquired it.
Unless they've acquired it.
With due process.
With due process.
And I think family lands, or villages, I think you've heard about village execution before. This is where villages or communities, their land, they survey it, and they present other evidences that this land, probably historical evidences that this land belongs to us. You understand? And then they, submit these stuffs to the government, and then the government examine them, and then we say, okay, probably out of this 100 acres of land that you said belongs to you, okay, well, we can only excise a social percentage to you, back to you, while we take a portion of it. You understand? Probably the government takes 40, or the government takes 60, you understand? And then it gives them the excision. And that excision means that, okay, we've given you this land. It is yours. According to you, you said we've examined the evidences and we found out, okay, to be true. Okay, so, but then you can't have the exclusive right to it, You can't use it alone. So we like to have some of it for public interest. You understand?
Right.
Probably for hospitals and all that, for amenities. So then gives it back to the village or the community or the
Right.
family. You understand?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that is how a family or a village can actually have ownership of a land. You
Right.
understand? So, and then, like I said, all land belongs to the government unless it has been acquired through due processes.
Okay, all right. So now, yeah, I love that you just talking and you've just spoken about acquiring land by families and villages. I'm talking about community development.
Okay.
It's interesting that you've also highlighted that all land belongs to the government. So how can land disputes? In what ways can land disputes disrupt a community's development? And it's one way. It's in what ways rather can land disputes affect the growth and development of a particular area or a community?
Well, dispute sounds like conflict, you understand? And the moment, if there's for every land dispute, peace will be absent, you understand? And peace is a sine qua non, I don't know, for every development, for every development, peace is essential. So number one thing is that it might lead to war, it might lead to scarcity. Taking the Magodo case for instance, the residents were saying they were under siege. That means they couldn't go out. That will affect, that will have a toll on socio-economic development and all that. There might be loss of life. There might be, insecurity.
Right.
So that is the impact of a land dispute on the peace of the community.
I love what you just said, that peace is essential for that, because of, essentially what happens when peace leaves a particular community is insecurity.
Of course.
And insecurity isn't just even about armed robbers or things like that. As you said, it can also affect socio-economic factors or aspects of that particular community.
And in case of what's it called, of a community or a state or a country, it can lead to war. If two countries or two states are having a land dispute, it can lead to war. You understand?
Yeah. There's one that's coming to my mind right now, but I want to get the facts right before I actually mention it. When Nigeria was involved in Nigeria was involved in a particular land conversation with another country. For the life of me, I don't want to get that wrong.
Okay.
So I always mention it. But let's talk about solutions. Let's talk about possible solutions to land disputes. We've just we've highlighted that a major challenge in land acquisition in Nigeria is fraudulent activities. And that's going to do with fake documents, fake sales, sending a land that has been acquired by the government, etc., etc. Right? So what are the possible solutions? So we've also highlighted the need for proper documentation and things like this. But it seems to me, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it seems to me that the problem in land acquisition is more of a people problem. When you highlight fraudulent activities, it doesn't mean that and please correct me if I'm wrong again. Getting these documents, I would hope that they are easy, or they are, relatively easier to get. So it seems to me that it's more of a people problem. So what are the possible solutions? What possible solutions do you think, we can prefer to the problem of land disputes in Nigeria?
First thing first, engaging professionals. That's the first thing first. You have to engage a professional when you want to acquire land, you understand? And that will lead to getting land through the right channel.
Okay.
So that will lead us to getting land through the right channel. Then ease of registration.
Right.
I don't know if if it is possible to if you can actually apply for your CFO in the comfort of your home. I don't know, probably through website where every necessary documents can just be uploaded online. Maybe probably you can do it yourself. The ease of, there has to be ease in registration, and then cost of registration. That's still
This all sounds like the work of governments. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay, please go on.
Yeah. So and implementing effective land policies. You understand? Implement that's another solution. You know, we have some policies, but then implementing them is another story entirely. You understand? So and
Okay.
that's it.
All right. So, before we get into the documentation,
Okay.
the essential documentations to have when you are involved in land acquisition or a land sale, let's talk about personnel.
Okay.
People. When you say, one thing you've been saying repeatedly on the show this morning is to involve the rights professionals.
Yeah.
Who are the rights professionals?
Okay.
So, like for instance, as you said, you need a land surveyor. Who else would you need to speak to so that you know that everything is secure?
I think.
So maybe a lawyer, a police officer. Like, who are the people that you need, to have to who are the people you need to involve in your land acquisition to make sure that it is safe and secure?
Primarily land surveyor, and probably a lawyer.
Okay.
In the, because during the course of transaction,
Right.
you will need a deed of assignment.
Okay.
And it has to be registered, and that can only be done by a lawyer.
Right.
So the first person you need to talk to is a land surveyor.
Okay.
Then during the course of the transaction, that is when a lawyer comes in.
Okay.
You don't necessarily need a police officer. I don't think
Okay.
so. Unless
That was just a question.
yeah. Unless it has already turned into dispute.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's that. It's primarily a land surveyor.
Okay, okay. Now let's get into the types of land documents that are required in Nigeria for land acquisition. All right, so we have a list of some of these documents, and we're going to go through them, and with your help, we're going to understand them a bit more. Okay. All right. So now, when it comes to buying or selling land, there are several land documents involved. The nature of ownership of the property will determine the applicable documents for such a proper transaction. These documents will make the claim of land ownership legitimate. There are various types of land ownership documents, and they are as follows. Now, the first one is certificate of occupancy.
Okay.
Now, it is an officially recognized land document needed to exercise a degree of control over land without interruptions to enjoyment and use. It is a document given by the state or federal government which leases lands to the owners for 99 years. It is one of the most popular property documents or title in Nigeria. So, certificate of occupancy, what is that about?
Well, you've said it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this document, that gives you exclusive ownership rights.
Yes.
Over a land. You can use this document. It's issued by the federal or state government, as you've said, and it gives you rights, to you can use this document as a collateral. You can use it for whatever you want to do, and you have to be informed that you are just using it. Is like a right of occupancy.
Right.
You get.
Right.
So after 99 years, you have to renew it. So it's not like a permanent document.
Yeah. And this goes back to the Land Use Act, that all land belongs to the government.
So it's a certificate of ownership or occupancy. It's just like you have this for this sort of period of time.
So what happens if a person forgets to renew their certificate of occupancy after 100 years? Maybe a family, and maybe they just 100 years is a long time.
Yeah.
So what will happen?
Well, you can forget, but the government obviously won't forget, and people that actually transacted with you, I don't think they will forget. I think I remembered a case of Chevron or something that the family that sold them.
All right.
That's
Let's be careful about brands, please.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I think they've used the land for quite a time now. Like it has exceeded 99 years, and then the families want to take over the land again. But then it is not right, actually. So that's just by the way.
Yeah.
So you are,
That's interesting, though.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see
they
you know,
won't
the practical ways.
you can forget, but people won't forget.
Yeah,
The
the
government won't
certainly
forget.
will not forget.
Yeah.
All right, so the next documents we have here, deed of assignment. Now, a deed of assignment is a legal document that transfers ownership of a property from one party, the assigner, to another party, which is the assignee. It is a very essential document that should be demanded by a purchaser after buying any property. Deed of assignment. Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
So it's a what I'm getting from this is that it's a document that says that this land no longer belongs to me.
Yeah.
It now belongs to you.
Yeah.
What can go wrong in a deed of assignment?
What can go wrong? Yeah, probably if you are buying, you have to be sure that this person issuing this deed of assignment is the real owner. You understand? You don't deal in proxy. You be sure that this person signing this deed of assignment is the rightful owner. So, and you have to make sure that in case of family land, if you are getting a deed of assignment, be sure that you verify that all parties involved, all parties that are meant to sign, actually signed. You understand?
Yeah.
If there are, for instance now, for a village land,
Yeah.
you understand? Maybe probably there are 10 families they are supposed to, they are family heads.
Yeah.
There are 10 family heads that are supposed to sign, and then only 5 came. You will have problem.
Right.
So you have to be sure that all parties that are supposed to sign actually signed.
Sign in that part so that there's a smooth transaction.
Transaction.
Right. All right. So next one, governors' concerns. In a simple way, where a person with a C of O decides to sell land to another person, the consent of the government must be obtained before the transaction can be valid. Again, this goes back to the Land Use Act. The government needs to be aware of land transaction, right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay, I think I'm getting this. I'm picking from your brain, sir. All right. So next one, survey plan. This document shows the boundary measurements of land for accurate measurement and description of the land. I feel like this is where you
jurisdiction.
Yeah. Okay. So what is this? How do you prepare a survey plan? Who prepares a survey plan? Is that you?
Yeah.
Okay.
A surveyor prepares a survey plan.
Right.
You know, he has to visit the site. You know, take necessary observations.
Yeah.
You know, angular and linear measurements. That's not
Yeah.
that's not
So
for
I've
you to-
always seen your social media status,
Okay.
and what I love the most about your surveying is your boots. I love it. All your survey boots, I've always jealous of them. All right. So the next document, accession documents. I know you've mentioned this already. Now, where land is under acquisition, the process whereby the government releases a portion and is considered free is called accession. Accession, properly spelled in a gazette, will form a good document for one to be certain that land is not under acquisition. So explain this to me a bit more. So land has been sold. Maybe the government is like removing their hands of the property and they give you an accession document. Is that what it is?
No.
Okay.
You know, under the provision of the Land Use Act,
Right.
All land belongs to the government. But the case of natural inhabitants of land, of a piece of land, probably the community or a village, you understand? And, you know, by birth, they are the owner of this land.
Right.
You know, it is, quite logical that, you know, you put that into consideration. These people, by birth, are the owner of the land. So these people, you know, they survey their land, determine the extent, the size, you know, and then they bring it, they table it to the government. This is our land, oh. We understand that land belongs to the government, okay, but this is our own, you know. They table their historical evidences and all that, okay, that they are the owners, you know, and then the government now examine all these evidences and then will now say, okay, after examination, we found out that your claim is right, you understand? So we are taking a portion for public interest, for public use, and then we now giving you this.
Okay.
We are surrendering this part
Right.
for you.
Okay.
So
okay.
that is excision. Then
Right.
all excision will now be published in a gazette.
Okay.
A gazette is like a journal.
Yes,
You
like
get.
a newspaper, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
So that it's like it's in a public document, in a
Yes,
public sphere.
yes,
Makes
yes.
sense. All right. Now the last one here is a grant of probate and letter of administration. Now, where the original owner of a property has died, a fresh title must be gotten from the probate section of the High Court, which can either be a grant of probate or letter of administration. Such a document is one of the important land documents in Nigeria, as it gives the executors or administrators of the deceased the power to legally transfer his or her property to another person. So I'm guessing this will be in a case where the land rather, isn't for an individual. This is a case where the land belongs to maybe a family,
Okay.
or please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it's actually for an individual.
Individual.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so when
yeah.
this individual,
And probably this individual doesn't have a will.
okay,
Because in the case of an individual that actually has a will, you understand, that won't be needed, because already it will be stated in the will that I'm transferring the ownership
land.
right to this person, to the next of kin, you understand, or my preferred person.
Yeah.
It might not be your family. I might write my will and will it to an outsider. You understand. So that will be needed if this person doesn't have a will. But if this individual has a will, that won't be needed. You get?
Okay, all right. Can a will change everything about a land acquisition? So, we didn't mention a will in important documents, I think for good reason, because a will is not a land acquisition document per se.
Yeah.
But, can it change, for instance, can it change everything,
Well, yeah, I think it will, in the case of will,
Yeah.
a court order can actually revoke it. You
Aha.
understand? It can be revoked.
Interesting.
And another thing I didn't mention is that having a certificate of occupancy, CFO, doesn't literally mean you are safe and secured. You understand? A governor can wake up tomorrow and say, okay, we need this place for for public interest. They call it overriding public interest. You understand?
And that's what happened with the Magodo case per se, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it wasn't implemented.
It was gifted.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a governor can say, okay, we want to use this place for probably an amenity or something, and they revoke that CFO.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in that case, if you have a CFO, you are safe.
Yeah.
Because you actually be compensated.
Yeah.
That is if you have a CFO. But if you don't have a CFO, a viable document, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the discourse on land this conversation can go on for hours, and I'm actually learning a lot from it. But we need to go. Because we are on the aspect. But before we conclude, your final thoughts on land disputes in Nigeria. What is the future, of land acquisition in this country looking like? Taking into consideration, all these fraudulent activities we've mentioned, some of the challenges, like what do you think lies in the future ahead, of land acquisition in the country today?
Well, I believe our government needs to do better, sensitizing the public about how to go about land acquisition. You understand? And I think the onus actually lies more on the government.
Right.
And we also have citizens. We also have responsibilities. We have to be responsible. Because if we are responsible, people won't be defrauding each other and all that. You get. But excuse me.
Pleasure.
The government, need to implement effective land policies. And sensitize the public, the general public, about how to go about their land acquisition. And people need to involve the right person, the professional, you understand, the right professional when they want to acquire land and all that.
Right.
And the government again needs to make these things easier for the public. You understand? You know, going about the registration and all that, they need to make it, and the government should step in quickly in case of any land dispute. You understand? Before there is loss of life or property. You understand? So that is that. That is
All
that.
right. Akinwale Adeleke, thank you very much for joining
You're
us
welcome.
on Tea or
You're
Coffee.